All right, what is up, everybody? I wanted to film video number 2 of the Beginner's Blueprint 3.0, right? Again, I made a 1.0 series, I guess, when I first started off on YouTube, which, again, you don't have to watch if you don't want to. Again, I wasn't as experienced as I am now. Then we have the 2.0 Blueprint that goes over strategies and the way I trade personally. And then the 3.0, again, is going to be going over beginner-friendly stuff to understand what the futures market really is and how you guys can just dive into it and understand what you guys are going to be trading, right? So I put together another slideshow for you guys for number 2, and I want to go over understanding the market environment. I personally only trade ES and NQ, so I'm going to be going over ES and NQ, why I trade them, what they are, and again, give you guys information on what you guys would be trading if you're trading ES and NQ, which is the futures market. So let's dive into this video. Hopefully this helps you guys. Again, make sure to like and subscribe, and we have a couple more videos coming out for this series, and we'll jump right into it. All right. Okay, so as you guys can see, hold on. Whoa, we're skipping a little bit too forward. Understanding the market environment, ES and NQ, right? We're gonna stick to the first slide. So let's move myself over here real quick. All right, so the information I am giving you guys, right? This is based off of my experience in trading. I'm not a financial advisor. This is the way I trade. This is the way I learn. This is the stuff I had in my notes to help you guys understand what you are gonna be trading and what you can jump into in the futures market, right? So what I wanted to go over first is what are NQ and ES. So before we get into strategies and setups, it's important to understand what we're actually trading. What I recommend if you guys are just starting out in trading, right? You don't even know what a chart is, you don't even know what trading view is, you don't even know what the hell is going on in the stock market, what to trade, what to do with futures, Forex, crypto, whatever. I recommend you to not even learn a strategy yet. Figure out what is interesting to you, what you would like to trade, and then go from there and jump into a strategy later on after you experiment with what you're trying to dive into for a couple months. Again, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to jump into trading right away and make as much money as possible right away, but that's not how day trading works, guys. Again, social media now puts it out there that you can become profitable within a week or 2 weeks or a month, and that's just such bullshit. This stuff is hard for a reason. Again, I still have a long time to go and grow, but I do have 6 years of experience, and I also have 3 years of experience in the futures market. So again, I feel like I could speak on the stuff I'm teaching you guys, like I say, but again, this is my journey. This is what I learned. This is the way I interpret the markets and how I trade regardless, especially when you go watch the 2.0 Blueprint. If you don't like it, you do not have to watch me. Click out of here and go watch somebody else. But again, this is based off of my experience, right? Just want to put that out there for the people who just can't comprehend that trading is not a get-rich-quick scheme, okay? Let's go over NQ and ES, right? So NQ stands for NASDAQ 100 Futures, right? Which tracks the top 100 tech-heavy companies, things like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla, basically the biggest names in technology and growth. So because it's so tech-focused, NQ tends to move faster with more volatile and bigger swings, which is great for day trading if you know how to manage risk. I know people who only trade NASDAQ. Some people only trade ES, but again, I trade NASDAQ and ES because there's going to be something called an S&T divergence and stuff like that you guys will learn in the future, right? Don't even worry about that yet, but it's something I use strategy-wise to help me determine on which market or which index I'm going to take my trade on, whether it's going to be NASDAQ or ES. Going over ES, on the other hand, stands for the S&P 500 Futures. And this one represents a broad view of the overall U.S. economy. It includes the top 500 large cap companies across all sectors, not just tech. So it usually moves a little bit slower and smoother than NASDAQ. So again, you don't have to trade NASDAQ and ES. You don't have to just trade NASDAQ. You don't have to just trade ES. Figure out what each one of them mean, why you would get interested into trading them. And again, that's going to be a good reason why to watch this video because I'm explaining them what they are to you. And overall, figure out what works best, right? Again, your job as a beginner trader is to experiment and see what works best for you with your mind. Everybody's different. Test out the waters. See if you like Forex. See if you like futures. See what you are interested in and then start to test it and use demo money. Don't go into the markets right away using real money. I know you don't want to hear that. That's one mistake I wish I did. I started with demo money for probably my first year trading, but when I first made that big amount of money in crypto, I started with that real money right away and I didn't even know what I was doing in Forex or futures, nothing, and I lost most of that shit. So I'm just trying to save you guys that hard-earned work money that you guys save up. Save that to the side right now. learn how to trade, learn and treat it like a video game for now, and just trade demo money. Figure out how everything works. Figure out how you even can place trades and stuff like that. But first you have to figure out what markets you're going to get into, how to use TradingView and what to use broker-wise for, again, like Trade-Evate and stuff like that, or Awanda or something like that for trading futures. That's what I used, or MT5 and stuff like that. I don't know if you can use that anymore. Maybe with Forex I think you can, but I personally use Trade-Evate right now with my prop firms. And again, I'll go over prop firms and all that stuff in the future videos of this beginner series. But again, please just start with demo money, okay? Next slide. All right, so both NQ and ES are index future contracts traded on the CME, right? And what that means is you're trading the expectation on where the market is headed, not the actual stocks themselves. We went over this in the last video, right? We aren't physically purchasing the stock when we're trading, day trading futures in ES, right? NASDAQ and ES. We're predicting on if the stock is either going to go up or down. So it's basically like you're gambling on if the stock is going to go up or down. You're not physically owning that stock. So when you hear traders talk about ES or NQ, they're basically looking at two key pieces of the US market, one focused on tech, the other one on the overall economy. Understanding how they move and how they relate to each other is the foundation of reading market structure the right way. You guys have to understand what NASDAQ and ES are. Again, we just gave you a little bit of information on there for you. It doesn't hurt to go do a little bit more research, but this is just overall the basic information that can help you understand what NQ and ES is. We're going to the next slide. So, reasons why I focus on NQ and ES. Again, this beginner series and everything I teach on YouTube, we go over how I trade, and I'm showing you guys the honest truth of my journey as we grow as a trader over time, correct? So, I focus on NQ and ES. Comes down to a few key things that make them perfect for day trading. First is liquidity. Both of these markets trade massive volume every single day, which means smooth price action, tighter spreads, and cleaner fills. There's no weird slippage or sudden gaps like you might see with low volume markets, correct? Second is volatility, especially with NQ. The NASDAQ moves fast. With the speed comes opportunity, right? Because again, we're trying to predict the overall move of the trend for New York session. Again, that's going to get covered in the MastroFutures Blueprint 2.0. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. You guys can go over that and watch that later. So again, we have the volatility, and it gives me strong directional moves that are ideal for short-term setups because we're trading, like I said, New York session. I only trade that session. ES, on the other hand, tends to move a bit slower and cleaner, and it's also a bit more balanced. So I can use both together to gauge the strength and momentum. And again, what I said before is something called an S&T divergence, where you can see, I'll do a little quick explanation, but again, it's in the MastroFutures Blueprint 2.0. You can see if one of the indexes like NASDAQ comes down and sweeps out a draw on liquidity, let's say like a previous day low, while ES doesn't, right? And we see ES is starting to continue up, and NASDAQ came below and swept out that previous day low, and we form an S&T. We could see that ES is starting to have momentum to the upside. That mostly means that NQ is going to do the same thing. It's going to be a little bit behind ES, but still continue to the upside. But we're using ES as our map, like it's basically telling the future that the market has the potential. Remember that keyword I said there? Potential. Like in trading, there's no 100% this is going to happen. The potential for the price to go up because ES is showing us confirmation that it can go up. And you guys can go watch that S&T video, but you shouldn't be focusing on a strategy right now. If you're watching this video, just keep learning and keep understanding. Cool? Let's go. Third thing, I like how structured these markets are. They respect levels, things like fair value gaps, previous day highs and lows, and equilibrium levels. And again, I go over all of those in the MastroFutures Blueprint 2.0. That structure gives you an edge once you learn to read it properly. That's when you develop a strategy, right? And lastly, they're consistent. These indices move in sync with the overall economy. You have FOMC meetings, you got CPI data, job reports. All that impacts ES and NQ. Again, we don't trade those. We see where that news data and everything does come out, and again, that can dictate where the market's going to go and stuff like that. But when you have news like this that drops, it keeps the markets moving. And again, it's also just based the overall economy, right? So when you understand the macro environment, you can anticipate how these markets will react and trade with more confidence. So overall, I trade NQ and ES because they're more reliable. They have high liquidity and they react predictably to news and structure, which is exactly what you want when you're trying to build consistency as a trader. So again, this is a personal preference for me. I've noticed that I trade better with the strategy I use, trading NQ and ES. I also used to trade gold with it, right? Again, I wasn't as experienced as I am now when I would trade gold. I'm still focusing maybe on getting into that again in the future, but right now my main focus is just NQ and ES and sticking to trading the New York session and mastering that session and focusing on consistency and growing every single day and being patient and sticking to my system. And we'll go over psychology videos and stuff like that in the future. Next slide. This is what we were talking about before. The correlation between NQ and ES. Let's not get too excited about this yet because we're not learning a strategy, but I want you guys to understand this also on why I trade both of these indexes together, correct? One of the most important things to understand when trading NQ and ES is how closely they move together. Both represent the US stock market. NQ tracks the tech side through the NASDAQ 100, and ES represents the broader S&P 500. Because they both reflect overall market sentiment, they usually move in the same direction most of the time. Now here's where it gets interesting. NQ usually leads the move and ES follows. That's because tech stocks tend to react faster to economic data, interest rate decisions, and overall risk sentiment. So when I see NQ pushing higher or breaking structure before ES does, that gives me an early clue about where the market might be headed next. Again, that's like the example I just explained to you guys before. NASDAQ might not be leading all the time, but again, with news data drops and stuff, usually the moves on NASDAQ are way bigger. This is where it'll go over the S&T divergence and stuff like that. So the other key thing I pay attention to is something called an S&T divergence, right? We just went over this basically, which stands for smart money technique divergence. This happens, for example, NQ makes a new high, but ES doesn't. That mismatch can signal the momentum is fading and a reversal might be setting up. Again, it gives you confirmation that price could continue in the opposite direction. Does that mean that if you see an S&T every single time it is going to happen? No, right? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, there's no 100% win rate strategy. All this stuff was created by somebody, I don't know who. I learned it online and now I'm spreading it with you on how I was taught it and how I use it in my eyes and what works best for me, right? And I'll be totally honest with that. When you see both NQ and ES moving together, that's confirmation, but when one breaks off or fails and make a new high or low, that's information that where traders who understand correlation can get an edge and anticipate a reversal. So usually if I see both of these indexes and they're trading the opposite direction, let's say NASDAQ's going up and ES is going down right off market open, I usually personally stay away from trading that. I want both of the markets to be correlated and showing they're having momentum in the same direction, because that'll show me the overall higher time frame trend is matched up with my bias, and overall both of the indexes are showing that they have the momentum to the same side. So we'll probably continue in that direction unless we end up doing something crazy. And again, we're not going to get into strategy stuff because I don't want to get too ahead of myself for you guys yet. Okay, next slide. Trading sessions that move the market. This is important. I've talked to many traders who say they trade and they don't even know the market does for futures with Asian session, London session, and New York session. There's 3 sessions, guys, and we trade them for a reason because these are when new people step into the markets and these are how the markets move. You don't just trade at random times every single day. If you're doing that and you don't have a strategy, you are not doing the correct things. If you're trading ES and NASDAQ. If you have no idea what Asian session, London session, New York session, you have a lot of work to do and you should not be trading with real money yet. You should be still on demo, right? And that's just not being a dick. That's just trying to help you out and save you money. So when you're trading NQ and ES, it's really important to understand how the market moves throughout the day because not every hour has the same volume or opportunity. The first part of the 24-hour cycle is Asian session, which runs from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern time. This is when volatility is usually the lowest. The market tends to move slow and build range, basically setting up the levels that will matter later when volatility picks up. So next is the London session. We have London session from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern time. This is when momentum starts to come in, especially from European traders. Liquidity increases and we'll often see the market move to grab liquidity and set the high or low of the day during this time. Again, I don't personally trade London session and Asian session, so I'm not going to give you a lot of information on that. I am a New York session trader. I will give you all the information you need on trading the New York session. I do not trade Asian session. I do not trade London session. Going into New York session, right? Which is the main event. This is where most people, I think, trade in the United States. Could be wrong. Don't know. I don't know if that's factual or not. But again, this is what I personally trade and what I work best with. New York session is 8 a.m. pre-market open, 9:30 a.m. main market opens, right? Put that down in your notes. 8 a.m. Eastern time is when pre-market opens. 9:30 a.m. Eastern time is when the real market opens, right? Till 4 p.m. And this is where the heavy volume comes in. You got economic news, U.S. stock market open, and a ton of algorithmic activity. For NQ and ES specifically, the best times to trade is when price moves the cleanest and the setups are most reliable is usually between 8:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern time. I personally trade from 9:30 a.m. to around 11 a.m. Eastern time. If it goes past and I don't see a setup around 11 a.m., I'm usually done for the day. That is when liquidity is the highest and we get those big directional moves, and that makes sense with the overall daily bias. So once you understand how each session flows into the next, you can time your entries way better instead of forcing trades in low volume hours when the market is just ranging. Figure out what session you want to trade, right? I personally trade New York sessions, so the people out there who are watching me and you watch my live trading sessions every day, you can get information from those. You can see I go over my bias every day. I wait till the market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I wait for the market to develop. It's where it wants to go. And then we see what confirmations we're getting, whether we take a trade or not. We usually want to take a trade between 9:50 a.m. Eastern time and 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We usually want to be in a trade between those times. And then that'll probably be the overall direction for the day. Quick recap on what you learned today. So, holy shit, excuse me. I just moved my grandma in for the whole day. So again, if I look like a mess, forgive me. But main points is what NQ and ES are, of what you should have learned, why we trade them, how they correlate, and the three major trading sessions, which are Asian session, London session, and New York session. I also have indicators that I use every single day. It's in one indicator that everybody uses for free, or not everybody, but that marks out Asian session, London session, and New York session on TradingView, and it's in my TradingView video. I can put that down in the description down below when I go over my whole TradingView system and how it's set up. But again, overall, these are the 4 things you guys should have learned today as a beginner trader in this video, and I hope that they're helpful because again, I put in the time and the effort from taking all my notes that I've studied over the past 3 years, especially with the futures market, to help put this in there for you guys and help speed up the process so you understand what trading NASDAQ and ES actually is, and maybe you want to dive into it or not. So again, this is all the way I trade, all personal preference. I'm teaching you guys based off of the things that I know. Am I a wizard and I know everything? No, I still have room to grow. But I'm giving you guys good information as beginner traders on just getting started. And if you are interested after this 7 or 8 video series, go watch my blueprint. You'll understand the way I trade. You'll learn a strategy. And then you can go and back test that strategy for multiple months and see if it works well for you. Okay? Overall, like and subscribe, guys and girls. I just tell the truth in all my videos. I'm trying to help as many people out there as possible. That is my main goal, is just to help people, not focus on making money overnight and become the richest person over trading, right? I'm still in my growth phase of trying to get where I want to be. And again, I'm honest with that every single day. I post my live sessions for you every day. I post my live trades that I take, my wins, my losses, my break evens, all that stuff every session. And if you want to trade live with me every single day, just join the Discord. The link is in my YouTube bio. The link will be down below also. It's just $9.99 to trade with us live every single weekday. And we also run 2 classes a week. And it's also a great community with a lot of people that you guys can interact with that just don't compare themselves to each other. And we just overall have a good time and want it to be a great community. So again, like, subscribe. I appreciate everybody who is liked and subscribed. This is my dream, to keep growing on social media and being the best trader I could be. And we're focusing on just growing every single day with both of them. Video number 2, we'll get video number 3 out next week. And hopefully these videos are helpful. Like and subscribe, guys. Thank you.